All right, guys, we are back for season 1, episode 7 of Game of Thrones, titled "You Win or You Die." So, I want to start off with talking about a new character that we were introduced. His name is Tywin Lannister, and I don't know if you paid too much attention to that scene, but I want to get your thoughts on the Lannister father.
Honestly, it didn't occur to me that that was Tywin
Mm,
until three-fourths through the conversation.
gotcha.
Because he is in this workshop and he's skinning
I think it was a deer
a
or
deer.
something.
And he was just an elder talking to Jamie.
Mm.
I was like, who is this guy? But he finally mentions literally, well, he says, your mother will be dead, I will be dead, your brother will be dead, you will be dead, and only our name lives on. And at that point, it occurred to me,
Mm.
oh, that's his dad talking
Yeah.
to him. Um, I thought it was interesting because we got to see, or I got to see, um, a different mood from Jamie. Like in every other scene and situation and conversation that he's had or been in, he was kind of the person talking.
Mm.
He was the alpha in those situations and those conversations. And to see him being derided by his father, you could see the humble look on his face. And naturally, it's his dad talking to him, so of course he's going to be listening. Um, but it was just like a father and a child speaking, and it was just a different dynamic to see Jamie kind of having to shut his mouth basically
Mm.
and listen to what someone else has to say. Um, and Tywin was going on about how this transgression against their family can't go without retribution, and that is Catelyn taking hostage. I keep saying hostage, taking prisoner
Tyrion.
Tyrion. And Jamie says, "I didn't know that you cared so much about my brother," implying that he didn't really care about him personally. But Tywin says, "No, he's still a Lannister. He's the lowest of us, but he's still a Lannister. He still carries the name, and this kind of thing can't go without the rest of the land's understanding this is unacceptable." So he is letting Jamie know that what has to be done is you have to kill the Starks. You have to take our army, go into their land, and just cut their throats basically because we need to send a message. This cannot happen.
Now,
So
did you get the impression that he wanted to just wipe the Starks out, or just to kill Ned?
I think he wants to send a pretty big message.
Gotcha.
Not only Ned, but also Catelyn, because she's the one who perpetrated it in the first place. And they also mentioned that Daenerys has to go.
Okay.
So he's definitely trying to protect this land because he also mentioned that this dynasty that is about to be born because of these actions will last 1,000 years. So he definitely wants to firmly place the Lannisters at the top of the pack.
Okay.
And anyone who's in the way, whether it be the Starks or the Targaryens, they have to go before anything can happen. Because he says the alternative is either we're at the top or we fade off into nothingness, into irrelevancy. So he definitely wants to wipe out any competition or any threat to that goal, period.
Okay. So I don't want to talk too much about Cersei right now, but does that show you kind of where Cersei's temperament and attitude and thought process
Oh,
comes
absolutely.
from?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, seeing Tywin, this introduction, you were like, okay, this makes sense that this guy is their father.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, now I want to move on to Winterfell. So in Winterfell, we saw Theon kind of like accosting this wildling. And did so you made the connection already that that's a wildling,
Yes.
like from north of the wall. So did you have any thoughts about that scene at all?
So this is the wildling that they let live.
Yeah.
The one who had attacked Bran in the previous episode. Um, I didn't understand. Well, no, let me take that back. Also, I don't know if it was the previous episode, but his whore or
Mm.
prostitute left,
Yeah.
and she went off to where'd she go?
She went to King's
King's
Landing. We
Landing.
actually saw her
Yeah,
in this episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
She went off to King's Landing and left him where he is. So he didn't take that very well. He didn't want her to go. There was a different kind of connection than just her being a whore.
Mm-hmm.
So he approaches this wildling and he has this conversation with her. And at first, it seems condescending. And he's, you know, telling her that she needs to address him as Lord. And then he tries to explain what Lord means and why she needs to address him as such. She's in a civilized place now. She needs to speak properly. And the entire time I'm thinking, because also she is going back and forth with him, talking back, giving him lip. And I'm thinking, this is one of the people who tried to murder Bran. Why are you talking to her with any civility?
Yeah.
What is this about? And then it occurred to me, oh, he wants to have her, basically. And it was odd because I'm still trying to figure out who Theon is.
Okay. I was just gonna ask you that told you anything about him and his character.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's getting at or how he fits into the story in general.
Yeah.
But someone walks in. Who walks in? The older guy.
Oh, that was Maester Luwin.
Maester Luwin. I do remember him now. He walks in because Theon is getting physical with her at this moment where Maester Luwin walks in, and he says, "This lady is our guest. You should be doing that." And then he says, "I thought she was our prisoner." Blah blah blah. Then something else happens. I stopped paying attention, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was an odd interaction.
Okay. So what I will say about Theon is you're not alone on that boat. When it took me a while to really understand what was going on with Theon, and that's a matter of like interest and also just like the story itself not giving you that much information yet. It's a kind of a combination of the two of those things. Like with any character, like if you pay attention to small things that happen, you can pick up on what's going on because they tell you a lot that. But they give you so much of everything that it's easy to forget those little things that you see. But yeah, with Theon, I definitely it took me a while to really like be consistently following his story in like a comprehensive manner, and I don't think they've given you enough yet for you to be able to do that anyways, as not in the same way that you could with many of the other characters. Okay, and I want to make a note. This is like a really small thing, but she calls him a Southerner, and then he like fights against that. He's like, I'm not a Southerner, but that kind of shows you like how the wildlings think that like everyone that is in Westeros, everyone south of the Wall is a Southerner, and the Westerosi don't necessarily think of themselves like that. They don't really have any concept of what how the wildling society works. So, okay. So now I want to talk about Jon and Sam at the Wall, because some drama happened up there. It was a little awkward for Jon, and actually no, I want to start off with him noticing that Uncle Benjen was not on his horse. What did you think of that?
They're standing at the edge of the wall, and they notice a rider coming back, and Sam says, "Oh, hey, we need to go ring this bell." And he lists off the different situations and how many rings each situation needs. And then Jon notices with his keen eye that there is no one on this horse. It's just riding by itself. And then he questions, like, why is there no one on this horse? So they take the elevator down, and after the horse has gotten through the wall, he recognizes this is Benjen's horse?
Yes.
Benjen, his uncle. So he turns to whomever, and he's like, where is my uncle? And I thought that was weird because I guess it's just a reflex kind of thing, but how would anyone inside the walls know where Benjen is? So Benjen has obviously been out on patrol. Something has happened to him, and his horse has come back. So, um, John is naturally worried.
Okay.
What's the deal?
So, do you feel that we spend enough time with Benjen for you to be really invested in what's going on?
Yes and no, and here's why. I understand Benjen's importance to the wall, or
Okay.
at least the importance that the show has tried to portray.
Yeah.
I also understand Benjen's importance to John. He was going to be his mentor, kind of, be there with him at the wall, and also lead him across on patrols as a ranger.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to be. That's what he wanted to do when he got to the wall, John, to be a ranger. He was going to be a ranger with Benjen. But for me to be invested in Benjen as a character and getting to know who he is, not really.
Okay.
But, like, I just know that he fits in. That's Robert's brother.
Ned's
And
brother.
So
Yeah.
I keep doing that. Ned's brother and a mentor to John at the wall as a ranger.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool, cool. So then we get into the assignments of the jobs that are going to be done at the wall. And we get a little bit from Sam about how John's always wanted to be a ranger and this is his big day and stuff like that. And then we find out that he is actually going to become a steward. Now, I don't know if that really meant a whole lot to you just because they haven't really talked about what those jobs are yet. But we obviously saw what it meant to John. And what did you think about his reaction to it and the new perspective that Sam gave on it, as far as being mentored for leadership and potentially?
So I need to understand. So let me go back. John isn't selected to be a ranger,
Mm-hmm.
and as the assignments are being read off, and you hear that one guy say John's going to be a steward, however he worded it. There's that other guy. What was his name? The commander.
Alistair Thorne.
Alistair Thorne. He smirks
Yeah.
at John as if he did that.
Mm-hmm.
As if he did that to punish him.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he wants to be a ranger, but he's going to stick it to him for disobeying him and going against his orders previously and protecting Sam. I felt that it was payback, and I felt that it was odd. Like, why would you do that? Because as this other guy is reading off the names of the assignments, the first thing that he says is, these roles are given to you based on your skills and our needs.
Mm-hmm.
John's skills are of a ranger. You need a ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Him being a steward doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at that point in time.
Yeah.
As we were getting John's reaction, because he was thinking the same thing. This doesn't make any sense. Why would I be a steward?
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously a ranger.
Yeah.
So, then Sam says to him, this is later on, when, who's the older guy he was assigned to?
Oh, Maester Aemon.
Mr. Aemon?
Yeah.
He has his group of stewards, and he's doling out assignments for each steward. And he gets to John, and he tells John that he's going to be
Commander Mormont's personal assistant.
Commander Mormont's personal assistant. So have we met him? Who's
No.
he? Okay.
If we have met him, I think we have actually. We have, but it was so brief that you wouldn't. It's fine.
I thought, because I didn't catch the name, so I thought he was the
Alistair Thorne.
Alistair Thorne.
Oh, okay, no, it's a different guy.
Gotcha. So what Sam said then makes more sense to me now.
Oh, okay, so you thought that those were the same person,
Right.
but they had two clearly opposite motives. It
Right.
didn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay.
Because now that I know that it's a different person,
Yeah.
not Alistair Thorne, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So Sam says to him, it's not so bad being a steward to this commander.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be following around this commander. You're going to be talking to him every day. You're going to be in his presence all the time. He's going to basically be grooming you to be a commander. And at that point, you will lead rangers into or on the other side of the wall. And then John's like, I guess. And he kind of accepts it. And they have this moment because there was a third guy in this group. They're in a mess hall area. And he's commenting on how unfair it actually is for him personally because he shouldn't be at the wall. Period.
Mm.
He was kind of sent away because he rejected um, some sexual advances from a lord at some point years ago. So he was like, don't complain about being here, being a steward. I really got the short end of this stick
Mm.
because I didn't do anything wrong except not want to be molested.
Yeah.
So um, he leaves, and John's like, "Man, I really wanted to be a ranger." And then Sam says, "Yeah, I really wanted to be a wizard." And John just cracks up. Appropriate reaction.
It's just like I think the interesting thing about that line is because we've been hearing tales of like these creatures and things like these monsters north of the wall and stuff like that, but like we hadn't ever heard that the wizards or anything
Mhm.
are a thing. So it's like, wait, is that a thing in this show or is he just weird?
What
like
year is it really? Is J.K. Rowling bored? Like, what's happening right now?
So yeah, when I first heard that too, I was like, Sam, what are you smoking? I
Yeah.
don't understand. But yeah, okay, so that was good stuff.
Oh, I also want to note that Sam is becoming a different character.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that. Actually, I was just about to mention
Okay.
something along those lines. So during the naming of the job roles and everything like that, they start ask or the I don't remember who's talking at first. Actually, that might have been Commander Mormont, the guy who was actually listing off the names.
Okay.
But he says something to the effect of, "Does anyone keep the old gods?" Do you remember him saying
I
that?
remember him saying that.
And John stands up, and so that tells you that the Starks follow the old gods.
Okay.
And then Sam says that he was raised in the light of the Seven, which is the new gods.
Gotcha.
But did you find anything interesting about that? Because you've been hearing them say the old gods and the new. I'm sure you
Mhm.
paid attention to that. So, like, are you wondering what that is, or like what that means, if that's significant at all?
I am wondering what that means, even still, because as they are going to take this oath
Mm.
of the Night's Watch, someone says, it may have been the commander, he says, "Are you willing to denounce either of them?"
Yeah.
Like, not quite sure I know what that means.
Okay.
Um, and then they get to the oath, and I kind of get more of an understanding. But at that point, like, that came out of nowhere. I need to go back and listen to that because what did he say?
So he said he was saying this to Sam. He said, "Are you willing to forsake the gods that you grew up with,
Right.
that your family's gods?" And then Sam says, "Well, this is my family
Yeah.
now, so it doesn't matter. And the new gods have never answered my prayers anyways.
Right.
So I'm just gonna see if the old gods will," which I thought was interesting. But yeah, regardless of not knowing what that means, did that particular thing show you anything about Sam, or was
Uh,
that not something you really thought much of?
I don't know. It it just let me know that Sam is moving on. Um, that he understands the situation that he's in, and it's not going to change. So whatever he needs to do to assimilate, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
Again, he mentioned it, but he doesn't really have any actual attachment to where he came from anymore.
Mhm.
So if this new place where he's in, this new situation, is going to be his life from now on, he needs to just be all in with it.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about the changes that you did already notice with Sam.
Oh, so he is no longer, well, yeah, I can say this. He's no longer the shy, bumbling, fat guy.
Yeah.
He's no longer the goof. He's not necessarily being. He didn't really have any interaction with anybody else, but he's not really the bullied anymore.
Oh, okay.
He's
been more or less accepted.
Right. He also seems to have more confidence.
Okay.
He's more outspoken.
Okay.
the knowledge that he does have, he is willing to verbalize it.
Mhm.
He's very articulate. He's an intelligent person, um, and the personality traits that we didn't see under his cowering,
Mhm.
that they've come out now.
Okay.
He's much more comfortable being around all these people now.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that was largely due to John
Oh,
standing up
absolutely.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He needed that person to really like kind of solidify his place there and kind of tell everyone like he's one of our brothers as much as any of you guys are. And it just really took that one person to say that,
Right.
and I think it made all the difference. Okay, so across the sea, we're gonna talk about Daenerys. What did you think about just the whole scene that played out with the assassination attempt?
It was weird. Okay. Before the assassination attempt, though, Jorah and Daenerys, they're walking and talking about something. And Jorah says, I'm going to go check my mailbox, essentially, see if I have any letters. And Daenerys says, hey, I'll join you. It's like, no, just stay here, enjoy the market. I'll be back. So he runs off, or he doesn't run, he just walks away, and he is greeted by this messenger boy.
Mm.
And this boy has this letter for him. And he says, this is a royal pardon. You can go home. And I was like, all right, who pardoned you? Why? And then he clutches the paper like, this is what I've always wanted.
Mm.
And then he kind of ducks back into a corner and he notices that Daenerys is talking to this wine merchant. And he looks on like, okay, let me see how this plays out. And it turns out that this wine merchant wants to sell Daenerys this poison. Or not sell, but give Daenerys this poison. Especially once he finds out who she is. He probably knew already, but he feigned some ignorance. So the wine merchant grabs this entire barrel of the finest wine that he has to give to Khaleesi. And then as he's giving it to her, one of the guards walks up and like, hey, you can't hand that to her. I'll take it.
Mm.
And then he takes a few steps. And then we see Jorah rushing up and he goes, hey, put that barrel down. Give it back. Hey, merchant, open this.
Mm.
And then the merchant, he's kind of hesitant. And he says, pour a glass. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. All right, let me taste it. And Jorah sniffs it. He takes it to his lips as if he's going to take a drink. And then he says, merchant, you taste it first. And at that point, I already knew what was happening.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he's obviously not going to drink it, right? Because it's poison. So he's going to drop it and run away.
Yeah.
And then he drops it and tries to run away. And then the guy with the whip catches him in the leg and he falls down. And then they capture him. So at that point, however, I didn't know that it was an assassination attempt perpetrated by Robert.
Gotcha.
I just thought, I don't know why, but I just like, some random guy just tried to kill her. I'm not sure why.
Gotcha.
But then that's obviously later explained. But yeah, that it for me, it just seemed sketchy that we see Jorah first.
Mm.
He's literally behind some stuff.
Yeah.
As if he's hiding out behind like some crates. And he's just watching to see if this is going to work or not. And then he comes in at the last minute and goes, "Oh yeah, let's not do this."
Gotcha.
So that was odd.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was a weird scene. I'll give you that. And so then after that scene, we see Daenerys' wonderful husband arrive in the tent, and he has some words to say to this wine merchant. But that, I guess that is after they have a short conversation about Robert and how he won't ever stop chasing and hunting Daenerys down. But yeah, so then let's talk about Drogo's gift to his son.
So let's provide some context first. Shortly before the market incident in general, Daenerys and Drogo are talking. And they're talking about Westeros,
Mm.
and about wooden horses and iron chairs.
Yeah.
And Daenerys is trying to push Drogo to the concept of riding to Westeros
Yeah.
and taking back this kingdom.
Mm.
She's not phrasing it that way, but
Yeah.
becoming king of all the kingdoms. And Drogo, he's like, I'm doing all right here. We got everything we need. I don't need a throne. A king doesn't need a throne. He just needs a horse.
Yeah.
So he's doing just fine where he is and in his land and with his people. But that is the first time that he is introduced to the concept of a throne.
Yeah.
And a ruler sitting atop it, leading all of his people. So the market assassination attempt happens. They've captured the perpetrator, and he's tied up to this pole. And Daenerys says, what's going to happen to him. And Jorah explains the punishment usually involves running behind a horse until, you can't anymore. And then Daenerys says, what happens then? And Jorah implies that you just get drugged until you die. And he mentioned that he's seen one person last at least 9 miles. So, soldiers of the Dothraki, they begin to pile into the tent. And Drogo, he is one of the last people to come in. And he walks into the tent. And as the merchant is tied up directly at his left, he pauses and asks for one of the torches. And I was like, oh, this is going down right now. But no, he just throws it into the fire pit in the middle. He runs over to Daenerys and was like, are you okay?
Mm.
And then he looks over at Jorah and he says, hey, thank you. I know what you did out in the market. That was good work. I'm going to get you one of my best gifts. I got you a horse.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that because it's like, for them, that is the best thing that could happen. For Jorah, he's like, oh, cool, a horse.
Let me take this horse. This is my gift to you.
It's like I already had a horse, but...
And what's funny is he says, this is what I gift to you, and I was waiting for him to say something else. But he did. It was the horse. So then he walks over to Daenerys, and he says, this is my gift to you and to Rhaego, my son. And he basically says, I'm going to take these kingdoms. I'm going to go get, I'm going to kill this king. Does he mention Robert?
I don't think he says Robert's name.
But he knows that this was an attempt by someone over there. And he's going to ride over there as no other Dothraki king has done before. He's going to take his wooden horses and take down this iron chair. He says he's going to burn down all the buildings, he's going to rape the women, take the children as slaves. As the stars are his witness, he's going to do all these great things for Khaleesi and Rhaego. And
now, wasn't that romantic?
it was. However, hold on. It seemed like it was funny, and maybe I need to just be on board with characters changing immediately with a flip of the switch, because the last time they spoke about this, he was like, meh. But in one instance where, yes, I understand your wife and unborn child almost got murdered. That's blatant disrespect and can't happen. I get it. But he was fired up. He was ready to go tonight. Like, because I had also never seen that kind of emotion and animation from Drogo.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa, you're at 100 right now. Can we come down to 60? No, I get the situation. I understand. Trust me. But really, you're gonna go down? Like, no one's ever done this. You just said that. How are you gonna get across the sea? You don't have a boat. I can't. Let's think about that. But no, it was in the heat of the moment, and I
So,
understand it.
like, really quick, were you on board with it up until a point? Because I know when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is so cute. Until he was like, I'm going to rape their women and enslave their children. And I was like, ah.
So that part I didn't mind. Here's why, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have surprised me that that's
Gotcha.
what invaders were.
So,
going
what
to
part of it was that 100? Just going across the sea?
No, him.
Oh, just him.
The speech, the whole thing. His emotion. He was like, wow. He was like dancing and flexing and like, whoa. But what was also funny, and this is the funniest part actually, Khaleesi was like, put another baby in me. Right now.
She was so ready. She was like, this is the hottest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, she was definitely wanting twins. 3 months apart. From different wombs.
Right? She's like, I can carry them all.
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
Screw all the babies.
These two will just come out a little bit later. It'll be okay.
Everybody go.
I don't burn,
Right.
so like this other magical things can happen.
Oh my goodness. She wanted it. She wanted it so bad.
Oh yeah, I was just like, I have been waiting for that all season because I just love that scene like so much. And just like when you take aside the extreme over the topness of it, it is really sweet. Like it was a really sweet thing that happened.
And I'm not. It doesn't surprise me at all, especially given what literally just happened with Viserys.
Yeah.
So no, it doesn't surprise me that that's the kind of gesture he would take.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of action he would take. Because even before he actually killed Viserys, I knew that he was going to die. We talked about it in that episode. So I fully expected him to do something to that effect.
Yeah.
I just didn't expect him to be so animated about it.
Yeah.
So I fully accept that that's what's going to happen. It was just very odd to see all of that come out at that moment.
No, I feel you. So, are you excited to see King Drogo of the Seven Kingdoms?
I mean, sure.
Like, are you on board with this, this sort of invasion that he's planning?
Yeah,
Okay.
because here's why I would welcome it. Because of everything that's going on over there already.
Yeah.
For this to be another thing that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
It's gonna wreak some havoc.
Okay. That is the perfect jumping off point because now I want to get into King's Landing.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna break it down like piece by piece. But were you just expecting everything to just pop off so suddenly?
No. No. And first, I want to. So we see Renly running up to Ned, and he's all bloody. And he's like, "Hey, you need to come see this. Robert, he's hurt. He got attacked by this boar."
Mm.
And at first, I'm thinking, "What? A boar? There's that much blood?" And then we get to where Robert's lying, and the guard, he's got blood all over him too.
Yeah.
And there's a third person with blood all over him too. I'm like, what did this boar do? How did this boar do it? Are boars faster than I thought? I know Robert, he's probably drunk, but this is a boar.
Yeah.
He had a spear. It was like 5 feet long. You just poke at air, and you're not. Okay, fine. So he gets attacked by this boar, and it's the end of him, basically. So I'm still not accepting. So here's my issue with that. Actually, I don't know if I had enough of Robert.
Oh, okay. You felt your time with him was cut short.
We were just getting to know Robert.
Okay.
And this is the 7th episode.
Yeah.
And I guess the show has better things to do, or maybe that's how it's written. But it just seemed very odd that this is the moment that they want to get rid of him. And also, now that I think about it, these 7 episodes, I guess they intentionally didn't give us much so that they could just do this.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I accept that.
So you saw Robert as a bigger character
Yeah,
with a
absolutely.
longer story
Yeah.
arc. Okay, I see. Yeah, I'll say that too. Like we really were kind of just getting used to him as king. We were just getting into like his qualities as a king, learning why he was a
Right.
king. So literally, it seems like almost the very next episode he's dead.
Right.
Um, and they set it up in the last episode because he goes on that hunt at the end. But there's no way you would have thought, oh, he's gonna get killed by a
Right.
pig
Right.
during that. So yeah, that's definitely something. So on Robert's deathbed, we see him talking to Joffrey, and he has some nice, kind words for his son. He's telling him that he should have spent more time with him. He should have like helped him more. Now, don't think about anything we saw later. In that moment, was that like a sweet moment between father and son, or were you just like, it's Joffrey?
So there was, it was bittersweet because yes, Robert wanted to be able to teach Joffrey to be a better man, but it also seemed like he was talking very condescendingly to him. Like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Actually, um, me having died and you being who you are doesn't bother me. I just want to go. I want to be away from you.
Mm.
Um, he says something else to him that kind of let me know that he really wasn't actually that into Joffrey. And it was also odd that Joffrey literally had nothing to say. And I don't know if that was a writer's choice for the show or how they thought the character would actually react.
Mm.
But he's just sitting there stunned. And at that moment, I don't know if I was about to accept that he was literally dying at
Gotcha.
that moment. So for me, it was just Joffrey sitting at the bed of his injured father.
Oh, okay. So at that point, you didn't think he was dying.
Right.
Gotcha.
And he looked pale. He looked sickly, but
Yeah.
he looked as sickly as Ned did. In the
Yeah,
previous
yeah.
episode.
That's true. That's true.
So it was he and Joffrey just had this worried, upset look on his face, and I think he breathed like once, and I was like, and then he tells him to leave when Ned shows up, and he's like, okay, and then, no, he doesn't say okay, he just gets up and he walks away, and he brushes past Ned like it was Ned's fault. I'm like, what? Why? I don't understand why you were in this scene. You contributed nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And-
no, I don't know if that did anything for Robert and Joffrey's relationship.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think when I was watching it just now, I was like, I couldn't really tell. I didn't really pick up on some of the things you picked up with Robert. But I saw a boy who was confused because his dad was dying. And so that was really all I was really mentioning. And I just thought that was interesting because, like, it's cool to see these human sides of Cersei
Sure.
and Joffrey. But speaking of which, Cersei was clearly unconcerned about the death. She was concerned about what was going to happen next, and that was obvious. But she says, "Robert, my sweet," and I just almost lost it. I was like,
That entire scene, her face with this worried look.
Yeah.
And as you just said, the entire time I'm thinking, you're not necessarily worried that he's dying. You're worried that he's gonna die and leave the throne to someone not Joffrey.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. But yeah, she's like, because Robert asks everyone to leave because he wants to speak with Ned in his few final moments. And Cersei knew, oh yeah, he's about to give the throne to you. My sweet, can I just stay here for a minute?
Yeah.
Don't be alone with him. You've got some ideas that I
Right.
don't want to
It's
come
like, can
out.
I write your will?
Right. So everybody leaves, and that's exactly what happens. He asks Ned to write down his final commands, and he basically says, I want you, Ned, to be protector of the realms.
Yeah. Realm,
until realms
Singular.
until my son becomes of age. And as he's saying that, Ned is jotting this down. And when he gets to son, Robert's word, he changes it to rightful heir.
Yeah.
Because, as we learned in the previous episode, you don't have a son.
Yeah.
Joffrey isn't your son. So, if I write this, it's going to be one of your bastards.
Yeah.
And we don't want that.
And that recalls something else that we didn't talk about yet. The conversation between Cersei and Ned earlier, where they're discussing her incestuous relationship with Jaime, is the first time we've heard her called out on it. And surprisingly, she admits to it rather quickly because she's like, she knows the game is up pretty much. What did you think about that scene as we move forward into the events of King's Landing?
It also highlights what we talked about right after the the murder attempt on Bran. We talked about how the Lannisters are wanting to keep their bloodlines pure, and she talks about another family who does that already. I forget who she says, but she references another family that does the same thing because Ned says to her, Joffrey is your son and Jaime's. And she says, thank God, or thank the gods. And she said, our bloodlines have to be pure to keep this dynasty going. And it didn't surprise me at all that she would cop to it. It didn't surprise me at all that she would be proud of the lineage that she's creating with her and Jaime. And she mentions that it's only natural for her and Jaime to be together because they shared a womb together. They're of the same family. They're of the same blood. They believe in the same things. So you're the one who's confused. we're doing everything as you're supposed to do it. Why don't you have any incestual kids?
So was it just like I don't know, like what was going through your mind as she was saying that? Was it just like, wow, you're actually this crazy? Like,
no, I've always thought she was that crazy.
Oh, okay.
So no, it was just natural to hear her say that. I was on board with everything.
Gotcha. Because I think up until that point, I was thinking, okay, well, they're doing this incest thing, but they probably know it's a little messed up. But, you know, who cares because they're in love or whatever. And then, so she said that, and I was like, oh, you're just, like, fully on board with this. Like, you're more on board than Drogo is with taking over the Seven Kingdoms right now. Like, you are committed to this incest.
She's all over it.
So, yeah, what I wasn't quite expecting that from her when I first saw that. And so that was a little bit much for me. But, yeah, so she also tells him, like, basically, like, when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. Like, don't mess with me. Like, we've had this conversation already.
She says that because she says to Ned that at some point you had the choice to take the throne or give it to someone else.
To Robert.
To Robert?
Yeah.
But you chose something else.
I don't remember her exact words.
So... yeah, and
I think she meant that like he did the honorable thing or something like that.
But it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Whatever decision he made was a mistake.
Yeah.
And he says, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and that wasn't it. And that leads to the line in the Game of Thrones: you win or you die. I wasn't really sure what she was talking about there, or what decision she was talking about.
Yeah. I'm trying to. They have talked about that already, but I think they're going to talk about it again.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it goes back to the rebellion against the Targaryens.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get plenty more of that.
Okay.
But yeah, okay, so now we're going to go to that conversation. We're going to talk about two conversations that Ned has in preparation for Robert's actual death, like the real end all. The first person he talks to is Renly, and Renly gives him an offer. He basically says, like, hey, I can help you. Like, I have some men in the capital. Like, we can stop Cersei before she puts Joffrey on the throne, but you have to make me king first. Or you kind of have to be on board with that, because that's the plan. And Ned's like, no, that's not what we're doing. Like, I'm doing this intentionally because he's not the rightful heir and you're not either.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what did you think about that? And, like, did that give you more context to what Renly was trying to do? Or do you still think he's just a schemer?
I don't necessarily. Yeah, I did think he was a schemer. So we're building on more of the Renly from the previous episode.
Yeah.
We've completely left behind the first time we saw Renly.
Gotcha.
That character doesn't exist. um, so me with that mindset, and also then going back to the conversation, however, he had with Loris, about you're pretty close in line. Like one person has to die, and then you need to maneuver, and you can be king.
Yeah.
So he's doing that right now.
Yeah.
So he's taking full advantage of Robert being dead soon, and he has this grand master plan that he and Loris has just come up with. And I say just come up with because it was 2 episodes ago, and we haven't seen him since, or the plan. So I, I don't buy into him being a king. He seems to have the drive now. He seems now to have the personality and the conviction now that he just developed. Like he rolled over and like, oh, I'm gonna be noble now. I'm not on board with it. I accept that it's a plot thread that they've introduced, but I don't buy it.
Now, given that, it, in that conversation where they came up with that plan with Loris, he says, like, I'm only fourth in line. But now that we know about Joffrey, and Ned was saying that the rightful heir is actually Stannis, who is Renly's older brother, Robert's other younger brother. And so now Renly is actually second in line. So we obviously haven't met Stannis yet.
Okay.
But given the fact that the alternatives are the current situation and the character you haven't known, does that still make you haven't met yet? Does that still make you less inclined to believe in Renly's cause?
I mean, no. I still don't necessarily want Renly on the throne.
Gotcha.
Because I don't know you.
Gotcha.
I don't know what your motives are. I don't know how you're going to rule. I don't know what your convictions are. I don't know what your values are. Now, if Cersei were to succeed and put Joffrey on the throne, I at least know what that vision is.
So, like, you know what that is, like, as far as what that means for the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can either root for or against Cersei. I know what is happening.
Gotcha.
But I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're here. Like, fine, you're a part of the family. You want to be king. Great. But he also says things like, you can't let Joffrey and Cersei be in power. How will they rule? How will they treat the people? How are things going to go? I can do it better. Why? Why should I believe you? And I'm sure that there's some history between Renly and Ned where he probably understands some of what he's talking about. But as a viewer, I still don't know who you are.
Gotcha. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, so then we actually see him talking to Peter Baelish. And you said that you had some interesting things to say about him.
So, let's go back. Because Peter's in his whorehouse, and he's talking to a couple of these whores who are performing a sexual act as if they were performing for some patrons. And he's coaching them kind of on how to be better at it. But while he's doing that, he is also talking about this long lost love of his. And he talks about how she was already involved with someone else. And he wanted to fight for her hand, essentially. They went up against each other in a duel. He lost so spectacularly that Catelyn, well, he didn't say Catelyn.
Okay, I'm glad you picked up on who he was talking about.
Yeah. So spectacularly that she wouldn't let this other suitor kill him. Like she took pity on him. And one of the horrors, what's her name?
Roz.
Roz.
Yeah, it's about time you knew what her name was.
Roz asks, is she still with him? The one who bested him in the duel. And Peter says no, he went off to battle, got himself killed. She ended up with his brother. And Roz says something to the effect of, I didn't know that, you could be in love or something like that. And she says, what are you going to do about it? Or are you going to go get her or something like that? And he's like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get even. He says, I'm just going to go after them, make their lives miserable, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm like, okay, you're I knew it. And then he is talking to Ned, that's where we're at, right?
Yeah.
About their plan of action.
Yeah.
Because Robert is now dying. And it's a similar conversation to the one he had with Renly, but with different context. But he says, we should just put Joffrey on the throne, and I've got my guard. You just, pay me some money, and we'll look the other way. But I'm not delivering this message to Stannis.
Stannis. Oh my gosh, you just Stannis.
We're not going to talk about Stannis. Or his glove. So we're just going to pretend that doesn't happen. Or that wasn't mentioned. Yes, I understand that Joffrey isn't technically Robert's son, but no one needs to know that.
Yeah.
Let's just keep the order. Let's just keep the peace.
Yeah. And with status quo.
And with his army behind us, no one can really tell us what to do. Let's make peace with the Lannisters. Let's just, put out that fire. It's all in the past.
Mm-hmm. And we'll always have the upper hand against Joffrey in the long run. So, which, to me, I was like, I don't know if making peace with the Lannisters is an option at this point.
And Ned even says that. And Peter says something interesting. Because Ned says something to the effect of, no, I can't make peace with my enemies. Mm. And Peter says, well, we only make peace with our enemies. That's why it's called peace. And I was like, he kind of has a point.
No, that was profound, but it didn't. It was only profound because Ned worded what he was saying stupidly. Like, the Lannisters are such an enemy that, like, peace is a far gone concept. But, like, I understood what Littlefinger was saying, but what Ned really was saying is, like, no, there's too much bad blood with the Lannisters.
No, I completely understand, but just the profundity of profundity.
Yeah, it was something you hadn't heard before. Yeah, for sure. I actually really liked that line too, although it didn't have a place in that particular conversation. But yeah, so okay. And then we are headed into the throne room because Cersei and our beloved new king have summoned Ned to speak with them. But before we get inside, we see that Renly has left with Loras and some soldiers. Did that make you dislike Renly even more, or just like you just bounced when everything was getting...
It actually didn't make me think anything of Renly.
Gotcha.
I was only concerned about Varys' delivery of the message.
Oh, what do you mean?
He just seemed so snaky.
Oh, okay.
I hate you. I don't know why, but you just talk as if you're lying about everything. He has that tone and the sound in his voice, like, I don't trust anything that you're saying.
Gotcha.
So when he says, because he said it in such a petulant way, like, oh no, Renly left.
Oh, I see.
He got on his horse and he ran away.
So it was one of those things of like, he doesn't really care.
Right.
And he's just delivering the message.
Or did it even happen?
Yeah.
So, and maybe it did, but the way that he delivered that line, or not delivered that line, but the way that his character just talks in general, it's like...
So you think it's the character and not the actor?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and so then we actually do get into the throne room, and I'll just let you lay all the pieces down about what
Um,
that spectacle that we saw in
yeah.
there.
Robert walks in because
Ned.
I keep doing that.
I'll keep helping you.
Ned walks in because he's just been given a message that King Joffrey wants to see him, and he's like,
King who?
I'm the protector of the realm. What's this king nonsense? Why am I being summoned? So he walks into the throne room, and Joffrey is sitting on the throne, and his mother is to his right, and he's got these guards in front of him and at his sides. And Joffrey's like, I need to be coronated within the fortnight. I want a bunch of gifts. Bring me some stuff. I'm the king now. And Ned is like, pump your brakes, because I've got this official note here. Look at this. It's got the seal on it and everything, and it's unbroken. So he hands it to whomever. And he reads out, it's one of the commanders. And he reads it, and he goes, Robert's final command. It is that Ned will be the sitting king until Joffrey is old enough. And Cersei is like, is that even real? And the commander's like, yeah, it's real. It's his word. It's got his signature on it. It's got his seal. This is what Robert wants. So Cersei asked him to hand it to her, and she looks over it, and she does exactly what I thought she was going to do. She reads and he goes, Ned, are you serious? Did you think this was going to stop me? And she rips it up and throws it on the ground. Like, if those words were verbatim in the script, like, that's exactly what happened. And I was like, okay, yeah. I figured that's what would happen. And then Ned's like, then she says, the first time the memed catchphrase appears.
What was that?
Get into it. She's like, Ned, that note means nothing. Joffrey is the king now. I need you to do something for me. Take the knee.
Oh, bend the knee.
Bend the knee. And I was like, really?
You seen bend the knee memes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I hear it all the time.
Oh, okay, that's hilarious.
So she's like, yeah, bend the knee. And Ned is like, no, I'm not going to do that. And Cersei's like, all right, well, arrest him. Arrest Ned, please. I need him to go away and stop ruining my plans. And they approach him, and he's got guards at his back as well. And they raise up their spears and swords, and they're headed toward the commander. And Ned's like, no, don't do that. He's a noble man. He's got honor and values. We're not going to hurt him. And then he says, I need you to take into custody Cersei and Joffrey, take them to the royal wherever, and put them under guard.
Yeah.
Protect them, and we'll deal with them later. And then we hear off in the background someone say, now. And this golden army literally stabs Ned's army in the back. And I'm like, Littlefinger, you Littlefinger. My hunch about you from the beginning was right, and you made me feel something for you in the last episode, and I was wrong.
See, that I wanted to talk about, because you had said, I remember a couple episodes ago, I thought it was, you were like, I'm not sure how to feel about Littlefinger, but I feel like he's on Ned's side.
Right.
And so that was why I was like, when you said that, I was like, okay.
He is not. He's on Littlefinger's side.
Oh, okay, so you know that about Littlefinger now. Okay,
Yeah. And for whatever reason, as soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, I don't like this guy. There's something about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of warmed up. And then he just was like, you know what? I'm done with all this.
I think for me, it was like when I got initial distrust of Littlefinger too, but I think what solidified that for me before this event was, there's no way he's going to be that helpful to Ned if he's still in love with his wife. So I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this guy.
I kind of thought that may be a thing, but I also wanted to prevent myself from falling into that cliche.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know if the show would do that, and I wanted the show to play out. I didn't want
Gotcha.
to automatically believe that might
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. No, I feel you. That makes sense. But yeah, so with that scene though, were you surprised? Because like you said that you saw that happening in this particular episode, but like were you expecting a betrayal from Littlefinger so soon?
Uh, with everything that we've seen taken into account, I'm not surprised.
Gotcha.
Am I surprised that he took it as far as he did with the bloodshed? I don't know if I
Yeah.
expected him to murder people,
Oh, okay.
but at the same time, he mentioned to Ned the force that he had behind him.
Mm.
And he mentioned that their loyalties lie with whoever pays him.
Yeah.
So if
It was really in that scene where I was like, why is Ned still going on
Yeah.
along with this? He
Yeah.
like pretty much clearly stated that they're not gonna do anything for him.
Right. So if there's anyone in the way that's going to mess with their paycheck, then they're probably going to cut them down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever Cersei says, hey, if they resist, just cut them down.
Mhm.
They're going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like we're I don't know. I know you've heard like memes and things about Joffrey. You've heard like about the menace that is Joffrey. Did you know he was going to become king at some point, or was this a complete shock?
I I think I've seen images or clips
Mhm.
of him with a crown on.
Okay,
So, I don't know if I expected it so soon.
gotcha.
Um, but even at this point right now, I don't consider him king
Gotcha.
uh, because he didn't look like he had some kind of robe on
Mm.
and he was sitting on the throne, but he literally looked like some mother put their child in that seat.
That's literally what
That's
happened.
literally what it looked like. So it's like, yeah, you're sitting there, but you're kind of an idiot for believing you're actually the king right now.
Mm.
And that may be the case, but it just didn't. It wasn't official to me.
So are you seeing Cersei as the queen now, or
Yeah.
like who are you seeing as being the having
Oh.
the power in King's Landing?
Oh, it's definitely Cersei.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
She's running it right
So, okay, even with that though, like, cause you were talking about how you weren't expecting Robert to go so soon. So, like, all of this whole Lannister takeover is something you weren't expecting to happen this quickly,
now. Right.
or at all.
As quickly.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, cool. So effectively, for the moment, Cersei has Ned beat. How do you feel about that? Like, because we've been seeing them play
Mhm.
like this game with each other, and she's got the upper hand quite a lot right now.
Oh, I'm on board.
Oh, you're on board with
Yeah.
that? Okay. Is this like the sufficient kind of drama that you were
Oh
looking
yeah,
for?
yeah.
Okay.
I am actually enjoying her having the upper hand because they're trying to outthink each other,
Hmm.
and she's one step ahead of him right now.
Gotcha.
So he has to come up with a way to counter her move, but he can't because he has a knife against his throat.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not going to lie down and take this.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So it's not over.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah.
How are you thinking the rest of the Starks' reactions are going to be to this?
I believe that Sansa will have. I was going to say mixed feelings about it, but now I'm not so sure. She might just not care. Sansa might just be like, "Oh, I gotta go be queen now. Let me get my stuff."
She's like, oh, I guess I'm not going back to Winterfell.
Yeah, right. Got my wish. Arya's not gonna have it. Arya's probably gonna murder some people. She's gonna be like, "Hey, what's her
Syrio.
name? Syrio. I need a real sword. Don't ask me why. I think my training is complete. I caught the cat like 3 times.
Okay, Luke.
Don't ask him about it. I caught the cat. No, Arya is definitely going to be a little upset, to say the least. Catelyn will probably be upset at the situation, but she may also be upset with herself because she, for all intent and purposes, put this into motion.
Yeah.
So she may have some kind of feeling that she put everyone in this position. And I don't know if that's something she should feel.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming her for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see her thinking, what if I had made a different choice?
Yeah.
Made a different decision.
And, like, to be fair, like, this was all thrust upon the Starks by Robert.
Oh, yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, it's all because Robert is lazy and was lazy and greedy and wanted Ned to do everything for him.
I also want to go back to something that Varys said about Robert's steward. I guess I'll call him that. They mentioned the wine that he had been drinking and whether or not it may have been too much. And Varys says something to the effect of, the Lannister boy gave it to him. I surely hope he doesn't blame himself for this. And he said it with this deceitful tone in his voice. Like, was Robert poisoned? Because, again, I'm going to go back to this being a boar. How much wine did he have?
Yeah.
Where a boar bested him? Or it could be that, because we haven't seen Robert in any physical altercation this entire time. So maybe he's never been, from the moment we were introduced to him, maybe he's never been a fighter anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe if any kind of scuffle broke out, he would have gone down. But at the same time, it's a boar.
They have horns.
I understand. They're probably called tusks.
Yeah, tusks. That's what they are.
It just doesn't seem that he could have been that inebriated.
Yeah.
To be taken down by it. And it's also mentioned, I think one of the guards or the commander says, Robert asked us to step back so that he could, take on this boar. I'm like, none of this is adding up, because up until this point, we haven't gotten any backstory on what these boars can do.
Yeah.
How big they are, how powerful they are, how quick they are.
To be fair, the first episode opened up with a deer that, like, killed this giant wolf. Like, they killed each other in Winterfell. So, I mean, like, if you think about what that deer's antlers did to that wolf, I guess I could see some tusks doing the same thing to a person.
I completely understand that.
Gotcha.
However, it would be 1,000% more believable that he got speared by a deer. A deer is basically a horse with horns on its head.
Yeah.
You know how strong horses are?
Yeah.
You know how strong deer are? That makes more sense. But I don't know how big these boars are.
Gotcha.
I don't know how fast they are. So I'm very skeptical about how this boar bested a human.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. You know what I will say? There are boars in this show. And so you will see.
Fair enough.
That's all I will say.
Fair enough.
You will see a boar, and you'll see the size of them. Okay. Yeah, so are there any final thoughts? Like, just wow, right? Like, just like a really big episode.
There was a lot. A lot of life-altering things happen.
Yeah, like the game just changed completely.
Oh,
Yeah,
for
sure.
On. It's on for everybody. Like, every family that I can think of. The Targaryens, the Lannisters, the Starks.
Those are the three big ones right now. And the Lannisters.
I said Lannisters. That's three.
You said...
Targaryen.
Oh, the Baratheons were the fourth house.
I was going to say Baratheons, but he's dead. So it's like,
Well, Renly and then Stannis...
Oh, you're right. So,
as the person they mentioned that we
even for them. So
Yeah.
those four, everything has changed for all of them. And they need to make some moves quickly. Or things that go downhill very quickly.
Yeah, and it's gotten to the point where, like, it's getting past, like, petty squabbles and turning into acts of war.
Yeah, we're done being introduced to people.
Yeah.
It's begun.
Cool. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us once again. Be sure to leave a like comment, and subscribe to us. And we will catch you guys next time for episode 8.